Okay, welcome to the Flat Earth Podcast. As ever, it is me, Rick, your host. If you want to find out anything more about the podcast, jump onto the website, which is theflatearthpodcast.com. There you'll find out more information about us as a podcast, blogs, previous episodes, all that good stuff. Check out our Spotify audio feed every Thursday, and also we're now putting lots of stuff up on YouTube, so that'll come out when we do film it on Thursdays, but then there are videos also every Tuesday and every Friday. If you're part of the Project 1046 thing at the moment, we have weigh-ins every Friday.
Come on, man.
Every Friday, that's right. So
Well done.
it'll be good to join you this Friday, see if we can actually lose some weight this time. Anyway, I am lucky enough to have three-time Flat Earth podcast guest, Shabazz L Graham.
I'm honoured, man.
Yeah, man, it's an honour to have you. If you don't know Shabazz, maybe you kind of haven't yet jumped back into some old episodes. Shabazz, you were the first one. You were my first.
Really?
Yeah, you were the first.
Dude.
First two episodes, guest episodes, was you, man. When we did two strong episodes on race.
What a big topic, man.
Oh, mate. And I'm disappointed because I thought we fixed it. And I told people, I said as such, I said, look, we fixed race, please listen to this. But it turns out not enough people watched it. So you need to pass that around a bit more, people. Because I'm sure we sorted everything out, but there's still a few people out there messing it up.
They're very stubborn.
But tonight I've asked Shabazz kind of along again to talk about something slightly different, which is no less a passion for Shabazz, I would say, than what we spoke about first, which is the wonderful and strange world of tech.
Mm-hmm.
So, Shabazz, man, this is good. We've been talking about this for a while, man, getting together and just talking all things tech.
I'm very honoured to be here, man.
And,
Thank you.
So before we get too deep, do you want to kind of, for people who don't know anything about you, do you want to just tell us your tech credentials or your position at the moment? I know credentials is probably a hard word, but your position, what do you have to do with tech at the moment? Just big picture, quick.
So, truth be told, I'm a filmmaker, which basically means I'm a creative who works in the UK film and TV industry. Primarily, I kind of focused, probably about a decade ago, I focused my career solely in the realm of, say, editing most of the time. I kind of, not abandoned, but I kind of like lost the flavour for wanting to grab a camera and run up mountains and chase, celebrities. And so I didn't shoot as much as I used to. And so I edit, I write, I direct, did a bit of producing. And yeah, throughout my career, I've been in the industry for about 28 years. Throughout my years, I've basically just always obviously used technology. And it's only been in the last 2 or 3 years, 3 to 4 years actually 6 years. What am I talking about? Goodness me.
Time flies, bro.
Yeah, about 6 years. Wow, time really flies. I think the last 2 years, I guess, has just disappeared into this realm of
we've all lost 2 years
and stuff. Yeah,
it's some endgame shit.
Dude, it feels like we've been
we got in the gap,
Wow,
someone clicked the fingers and 2 years went, man, and now we're back.
Yeah, because it was 2014. So I'm a filmmaker. I had a bit of a, it wasn't even a eureka moment, but it was a horrid moment. I lost a close friend, a film buff and friend of mine, just died suddenly. A gentleman called Phil Taylor just died suddenly at work one time while he was editing. And mate, it just threw me into this world of asking myself existential questions.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden technology didn't matter. I went through this kind of crisis of, dude, no matter all the technology in the world, all of the things that me and Phil used to speak about doing with cameras and all the editing work and all the things we wanted to direct, everything just stopped. When you grieve, you kind of enter into a real kind of like existential place. And so technology took on a new kind of sense of meaning for me. I started to ask questions about what can we do with tech that really impacts our lives? Doesn't just, impact our life by, given us more choice of films to watch
Yeah.
in front of Netflix. But how can we use technology to really create more of just a holistic, solid life that we could offer something to our kids? How can it improve humanity's sense? Because at the moment, technology is almost, unfortunately, and I'll speak a little bit more about this probably later, but technology has almost helped polarize us more than ever.
Yeah.
We're all very much aware of this kind of existential crisis that we're in, with regards to how technology is almost dumbing us down.
Yeah.
Whilst it becomes more intelligent, we become more.
Yeah. It's like it's never been easier to tell someone you hate them.
In so many different ways.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With like unified division.
Absolutely.
It's a weird,
dude.
It's a weird
Yeah.
thing, man. Anyway, sorry.
It's a bitter pill to, it's kind of like bittersweet in that it blesses us, but at the same time it takes from us.
Yeah.
And so, I just got to a place in my career as a creative where I wanted to use technology to advance us in as much ways as possible. And it sounds idealistic, but I think most good ideas, and I feel I have a good idea, most good ideas come off the back of some form of desire to offer the world meaning.
Yeah.
And this was mine. It was losing a friend that inspired me to actually change my approach to technology. And that's what led for me to create an idea that led to me wanting to become a tech entrepreneur.
Yeah. A techpreneur. Still can't. I'm coming up with that word, man. I want to mix those two words. Techpreneur.
It would be better if there's another term. Tech entrepreneur. It sounds so kind of like fallacious and stuff. But
I like Lord of Tech.
I just like, dude.
I like that grand title.
A developer. Someone.
Oh,
Earl of Tech, dude.
Yeah. So I'll ask, we'll get more near the end. I'll ask you like some more stuff about directly apps you're kind of developing and some of that stuff, really. But it'd be good to talk a bit more widely at first.
Yeah, sure.
I'm always interested. Like Shabazz is one of these people who's like always got ideas, and it's questions, right? Like Shabazz, powered by questions, right? This is your thing at the moment. Well, not at the moment, but like at the place you've landed, which is you love the questions, you love inquiry.
Absolutely.
This is where like real good bits of life and truth are discovered.
Yeah.
So I'm always really interested. I love the tech ideas, and we'll talk about that more. But like, I love the kind of bigger things and stuff that's probably some of you might know completely. And Shabazz, you know, but like when you first spoke to me about digital natives and digital immigrants, right, who I completely always called digital refugees. I don't know if that's worse, but like either way, talk to us about that, because that kind of it for me. I went like, oh, that explains something I knew. You know, when you know something, you got no language for it.
Yeah.
So talk to us about digital natives and digital immigrants.
So in essence, what has happened in the world is the world can be split up into two different groups: digital immigrants and digital natives. And in truth, all it means is digital immigrants are people like yourself and myself who are old enough to have immigrated into a digital world.
Yeah.
There was a time when the world was actually analog.
Yeah.
Where we actually lived without the ability.
What's the time on that? Is that like pre-iPhone? Is iPhone or BlackBerry that point?
Yeah, 2000, 2011, 2007.
Not long ago.
It really took a very fast-paced kind of sense of direction. Because in essence, you've got three different iterations of the web. Yeah, I'll come on to that actually in a little bit. But you got static, you've got dynamic, and then you've got what they call semantic, which is static is when we went to the internet just for information. We walked away and we left the internet in the library or at we didn't even leave it at home because we didn't have so much computers at home, but it was a static thing. Then it became a little bit more dynamic when we could fill out forms on the internet that allowed us to pay bills or do things that contributed to the rest of our life. And then it really took a shift when we moved into the semantic web, when all of a sudden my ability to spell words started to actually not really be as needed because I could just go to the internet and they would correct words for me because it was semantic.
Yeah.
And that's, they call it kind of like the intelligent web.
Yeah.
And long and short of it,
man,
the world has begun to get more digital.
Yeah.
And with that came obviously our kids, people that were born into a world where they didn't know anything other than this dynamic use of the World Wide Web. And we call them digital natives because they were naturalized in a digital world.
Yeah.
The digital world, the internet. I mean, I was having a conversation the other day and I sounded like such a dinosaur because I was talking to this I guess millennial. I hate using those kind of terms, but I was talking to this guy about when I first heard about YouTube and how I was a filmmaker wanting to basically get on TV and I couldn't get this idea on TV. But when I heard about this thing called YouTube and you could upload 12-minute videos onto this platform, because remember, now you've got like 9 hours of, you know, the sound of the sea that you can just upload. Yeah. You can do that in the past.
Tree, 24 hours of tree. People put, what are you doing? How long is that? I mean, I'll put videos up on YouTube, and sometimes it takes a while for them to load. Man's going to sit there
and watch
24 hours of a tree loading up. I mean, get a grip.
But the crazy thing isn't just the fact that you've got someone who wants to do that, but you've got the space on a hard drive somewhere where YouTube, Google will allow him to do that. Yeah. Now, in the past, you couldn't, like I said, to all digital natives listening to this, you couldn't upload more than 12 minutes. So I literally
that's crazy.
Would shoot things and cut them into 12-minute blocks to upload to YouTube. So anyway, that was my first that was like 2007, 2008. That was my first kind of experience of, say, YouTube. And obviously, I knew the internet before that, but more and more, the internet became relevant to my career and relevant to actually... this is probably where film is going. Yeah. You know, at some point, somewhere around the world, this dude that was the head of Netflix was obviously taking his idea to blockbusters to try and, you know, say one day I think people are going to want to watch YouTube, videos online rather than come to a store and get these video cassettes and put them in a player. Yeah. And, you know, Netflix obviously was born. So long and short of it, digital immigrant, digital natives. And eventually, and the scary thing is, one day the digital natives might have an experience similar to digital immigrants currently, in that something might be coming, and we can speak about like Web 3.0 and the way that things are going in the future. Neural link and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, where what digital natives experience as the internet now might be so different from what's to come. Yeah. And I guess we've even heard about the metaverse that's on its way. Chances are there's a new kind of version of the internet that's coming that I don't think any of us are prepared for. It's such a good, like, digital natives, it's immigrants. It's such a good way of like describing it, because we've all known it's like, you know, we've had this for centuries in some ways, right? Yeah. Like, you know, like, I remember when there was only 3 channels on the TV. I remember when the only remote control was when my dad kicked me and said, turn it over. Like, you know what I mean? But that was not the same. It's not like, this is so immersive. Like, all the jumps before in technology was still, like you say, there was a distance to them. Yeah. There were technological advancements that were about things that were physical. Yeah. But this has been a thing where the revolution has been around something that's ethereal. It's not there. It's information. It's on the web and you can all access it at any point. But it's not there. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? In a different way. But my kids, like you say, like it's funny because this not this week, but the next week, next Sunday, my daughter turns 11 and we're getting her a phone. Wow. First phone. Wow. Yeah, she always got an iPad. But like, that's a big thing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Of course. I mean, like, do you know, like, I remember like growing up, but that was like mind blowing that you'd have a phone you could carry. Do you know what I mean? But like, she's getting it, and we're thinking like already, and we've been thinking for a while, me and the wife, like, about how do they use it, and we're putting rules down. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. For how she uses it. And when we gave our first daughter her phone, we were like, here's your phone, it's yours completely, but we have access to every part of it. Yeah. And every now and then we'll spot check you. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or we'll remove it from
Yeah.
you or whatever, you know, because I paid until you can pay the bill, it's not yours, you know.
100%.
But
it's interesting that the phone no longer is just the phone. When you and me
No.
were kids,
yeah,
it would have just been the
Yeah,
phone.
yeah.
But now that's a way by which you can,
yeah,
you know, find out the location of your daughter.
dude.
which
Do you remember
is-
like when there was just phones? Do you remember like you were scared to phone your one friend because his parents would get so angry?
Yeah.
Do you ever have that the parent and you'd hear them shout at their son or something? You ever do that?
I remember.
Oh, dude, I'd have the friend. It was like, oh, you're phoning Tim or something, right? And then you just hear Tim's dad go like, Tim, the bloody friend's on the phone. Don't be long. And he'd be like, and it'd be
Oh,
be
when
afraid.
it was just one phone
Yeah,
in
when it
the
was one
house.
phone in the house on the
Dude.
lead, mate. It was dangerous times.
Of course.
Horrible.
Mate. Dude, you put one of those kind of like dial phone in front of like a digital native now.
Oh, yeah.
They wouldn't know what it is.
No, you seen there's a video of them. They did that, didn't they?
Really?
They would do, and they all just they didn't quite get it at all. Yeah, I mean, but
Wow.
but I'm like that. You put
Yeah.
you put certain apps in front of me,
Of course.
like because I'm 45 and I'm not down with everything. I just like
Yeah.
I'm lost.
Yeah.
I'm lost. Do you know what I mean? Like I was talking to someone the other day. I think it was Evans, and he was talking about he went to do the VR Van Gogh show thing, and I was like, I've never done VR.
Yeah.
I've never once had a VR headset on this head. Have you ever done it? The virtual like.
Not deep.
And
Not
that's
deep
a whole
yet, no.
thing. That's
Yeah.
a whole thing. I mean, it's not spoken about much anymore, but that's an immersive technology that's been crazy developed.
Yeah.
And we all know for one particular industry,
Yeah.
it's very like everything. Most technologies on the web have largely been powered by the pornography industry.
Wow.
Largely, if you
Yeah.
think about payment methods, cameras, all that stuff,
So interesting.
yeah, that's a deep dark corner to go down. But anyway,
Yeah.
but like I say, I love this phrase, like digital native. Like you never knew there wasn't the internet.
Yeah.
You never haven't had Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You don't even question it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my kids are been when the Wi-Fi's down, they're like, "What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean it's down? Like, how
Yeah.
can it be down? Like, well, how am I supposed to do? Like, and literally you can see them, just like, the life drains out of them. And it's like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yet me and you, we're immigrants. Do you know what I mean? We came to this thing with a slightly fading memory now of not having phones.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember, isn't it? But
Yeah.
it was there. I can barely remember it.
It's funny.
Barely.
Does it make us less appreciative of what we have or what we had? Or because I sometimes think about so you got digital immigrants that have really, they've rid those waves. They've surfed the waves really well, changing from the analog world, benefited now by the digital, and just applied their graft into this digital space. Whereas others have just been obviously completely drowned by the tide and just want to try and remain analog in a world that won't allow you to be analog anymore.
Yeah.
But then the digital native only has the digital, and sometimes which is probably why at the moment I think probably every tech. I don't want this to be fact checked wrongly, but I guess most of the big tech billionaires, the tech giants, the majority of them are probably digital immigrants. I'd love to see actually how many, the Jeff Bezoses and the
Zuckers.
were they immigrants
Yeah.
who became digital,
Yeah.
not became digital natives, but who learned to actually, like
Yeah.
an alchemist, really work with this new digital technology
Yeah.
more than the digital natives that have obviously come up and just created amazing tech platforms
Yeah.
that we love. What's the balance? I wonder.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I've heard this from you, but I haven't heard this widespread. But like you say, when you said a while ago, you talk to someone, it's like, I hate to use the term, but millennial. I've heard those, boomers and millennial stuff, but that's really, those titles are really, whatever.
Yeah.
This is a more important one, isn't it? In some ways,
It's
for measuring how someone interacts with the world.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as values and stuff, because it's just like in setting them, the digital world is there to help them to service their needs.
Yeah.
And so that's an more interesting marker than these other little things of when you were born and whether your parents were hippies or whether you whatever.
Because it's more of a milestone statement, because the world was once a different world than the one that we now are so reliant on. When we didn't have the internet, controlling things, when we didn't, pay bills through it. You know, now we're moving into the internet of all things, where everything's going to be connected to the internet, even things in our house and stuff. You know, to exist in the world prior to that, like, it feels like, you know, was it the Stone Ages? Of course it wasn't. We had, a lot of us had great I
still visit that. But every time I go see my parents, I visit that place.
That space.
You visit, don't you? You go back and it's just like,
you
know, it's hard. Do you know what I mean? It can be hard. Do you know what I mean? Let me ask you. So, the stuff you're working on, the apps you're working on, is kind of a family of apps. It will be that are there to help in a way. They're there to add value, right?
Yeah.
What as you look around at tech and different things happening, what are the things that worry you about tech? What are the things where you're like, oh, do you know, this is a bad trend? Because you're coming in, like you're saying, and it came out of fit. You know, you losing your friend Phil and being like, there's a way to use technology that serves people's life, and in particular, one part of it is to serve in helping the remembrance of people, or allowing people to continue speaking when they're not around anymore and stuff like that. But what worries you about tech? What are some of the things where you go, oh, I don't like this side of it?
Great question. So at the moment, we are facing what has been considered to be, you know, is an existential crisis, on the basis of a lot of tech is unfortunately being used quite unethically. And in that, it being used unethically, we as a human species are being affected, and we are being changed. There's a new economy in technology. It's known as the digital extraction economy. Also known as the digital the digital attention economy, also known as the digital attention extraction economy.
Interesting.
Which basically means you've got tech giants that are basically having this huge, epic war, fighting for what they've recognized after all of these, you know, decades of technology and all the decades of the internet. The key most prized thing, it's like the battery that Morpheus holds in the Matrix. The key thing that everyone's fighting for is our attention. Our attention now is priceless to them. And by attention, I mean the time that you have awake that you could be using the internet is a priceless commodity that these tech giants will fight in order to obviously have for them and occupy. And if YouTube don't get it, Facebook's going to get it. And if Facebook can't get it, Instagram get it. There was actually a tech giant that said the only one of the worst kind of threats to them was this other competitor and sleep.
Whoa, shit.
Because when you are asleep, you're not watching their platform.
Wow.
Yeah. This is true stories.
Oh, that's dark.
And so
that's dark.
And so you've got this, and a lot of us have been educated by things like Social Dilemma, a brilliant documentary on Netflix. I'd advise anyone who hasn't watched it to watch it, because it breaks down everything that I will try and say in a much more clearer, precise way. Headed off actually by an ethicist. I can sometimes not say that word, by an ethicist at Google, Tristan Harris, who's an amazing gentleman who had a bit of that kind of, anyone who's seen Jerry Maguire, when Jerry Maguire wakes up one night and has this kind of
moment of clarity
and writes a paper to actually address a problem that was occurring in his industry. Tristan Harris had a similar thing and became Google's ethicist, first ever ethicist, someone who basically said, we as Google are so powerful now, we do and will control the minds of 400 billion people. Sorry, 4 billion people on the planet. How do we control them ethically? I'll tell you what, Tristan, you do it. You become our ethicist. How do we do it ethically? And I say all that to say that our biggest crisis at the moment is how technology can be used ethically so as to not create more polarization, create more just problems that genuinely have led to world hurt and people dying. Something tweeted that literally might be between, it being between, two Joe blogs is a problem, but it being between two world leaders can create wars.
Yeah.
And we've seen tweets lead to genocide, tweets lead to suicide, tweets lead to, and I don't want to just pick on Twitter. We've just seen posts online in general.
Sure.
So apart from the polarization and the way that technology needs to be, ethics need to be thrown into it, morality needs to be thrown into it as much as possible. It's the digital attention extraction economy.
Dude, that's dark. Yeah. I get it though, because there was a guy listening to on a podcast the other day who was a guy who has no love for Google, no love, and he was talking about just this whole stuff and how negative things are and stuff, and he was relating a story in it where he's someone who was like adamant, I've never had a Facebook account, don't want nothing to do with and all that, and he said, but you've got, there's a Facebook page about you, like there's that Facebook have a file on you, and this guy was like, what are you talking about? I've never done it, never signed it. How could they? He goes, no, you have, because every time anyone you've ever known has mentioned you, anytime anyone's ever tagged you in something, anyone's ever mentioned a school reunion and you're part of that school, and some roll call somewhere said, do you understand? They hold there's data on you. There's a profile, whether it's a public profile you've designed or not, it's there. Yeah. And he said this guy was just like devastated when I guess this guy hit him with loads of facts about it and a way of looking at it, and he was just distraught that like he tried to escape this behemoth, this digital giant, yet he couldn't, even though he hadn't agreed. There was still data about him, and I guess the thing nowadays is data, isn't it? It's that extraction. It's that for advertisers, and originally it was very crude, wasn't it? Here's your mailing list, get on a mailing list, get as many, get your email, get your postcode, get your date of birth, whatever. But now it is getting more and more tailored, isn't it, to understand the things you love, the things you don't. We've all had it. We've all had the weird conversation about some childhood program or some shit, and then the advert next day, t-shirts for it. Here's your like Bagpuss beanie and stuff. You're like, what? Do you know what I mean? Just weird stuff. We've all had that, and it's scary. Yeah. But I can understand if you're a more trusting person, or years ago you might have said to someone, well, this is what happened. It's like, what do you mean? So I'm going to have adverts catered to me. This is the stuff of science fiction where we used to laugh and think, well, that'd be a good thing. Yeah. But it's slightly weirder now, isn't it?
Yeah, experiencing it is a little bit more kind of like uncomfortable than just seeing it on, say, a sci-fi film and stuff.
But I wonder, like, is it because we have because the leaders of these great tech behemoths are so odd. So Zucker's so odd, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Elon's kind of our favourite one, but he's odd. Do you know what I mean? Bezos is odd. They're they don't seem like real people. They seem peculiar, don't they? So you can understand that, or you can easily paint a picture of them being quite nefarious, can't you? And strange. Well, I don't think of that as just a random app on my phone that I love. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Here's like my steps app. It helps me track steps. I don't think anything about that because it isn't a person. Yeah. But we've now built up these people, haven't we? Do you know what I mean? The head of Twitter, the head of Facebook, the head, and it's kind of like, and Bill Gates is there behind it all and stuff. It's a really weird.
But that's us creating that's a very human.
Yeah, we're humanizing.
To actually need a face behind the. These dudes could be completely harmless and lovable. Some of them,
or disconnected from the day-to-day runnings of nefarious parts of it.
100%.
I don't think they entirely are, but it's.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's bigger than that. This is a machine that is even to some degree bigger than them, and because a lot of it is this: we drive cars. Yeah. But we're not mechanics. So we go to the mechanic and they open the boot and we see things.
I know a thing or two, bro.
You might know more than me, dude. 100%. But I look at an engine and I don't know what to do. Yeah. Okay. Because I use something that I have no means of understanding how it operates and works. Think of that times 2 billion. Yeah. The internet and the World Wide Web. I mean, this is going to get really scary, but there's a gentleman called Kevin Kelly, an amazing futurist who basically has wrote an amazing book called Inevitable. Okay. And he's basically spoken, I think, more in depth about what the internet is and becoming than I think anyone. and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
He basically speaks of
and
humanity.
does he come at it from a point of view of, guys, wake up, this is terrifying, or is he just telling you that this is what it is?
He's just factual. He's not really, he's not a preacher. He's just a very amazing futurist who has been right in so many ways in terms of speaking about things that are, oblivious. I mean, I forget his background, but he's very well versed and experienced to be able to actually comment as he has.
Yeah.
And he speaks about the fact that what we're actually doing with the internet is creating a new type of organism. Humanity are almost creating a brain. We can call it AI, we can call it, whatever we want, but it's going to operate one day, and it probably might even get there in a way that our brains do. We're having so much information, so much points, so much options by how to actually make decisions that we are creating an organism. He's even given it a name.
Yeah.
He basically says that we are creating the technium.
Yeah.
Which will become the
name.
seventh
Technium.
Kingdom.
Wow.
There's like six kingdoms, I think, isn't there? Like animals, humans.
Oh no, man, that sounds right.
But the seventh will be, he basically says, the technium. And whether he's right or wrong, it's just it's interesting hearing the path that humanity is going and how we are creating technology to become so in depth. So, like I said, back to the metaphor of what's under the bonnet. We might not even know just what's under the bonnet of the internet, the World Wide Web, because there's so much parts to it. We are creating an organism that's taking shape. I mean, there have been occurrences when engineers have had to pull the plugs
I hear this,
on
man.
computers.
On supercomputers doing stuff.
They saw computers speaking to each other in a language
I heard
that
this.
we couldn't
I heard
understand.
this, some Skynet shit, man.
Dude.
It's bad times.
If we hold an iPhone in our hands and we immediately think, I remember this was like in Captain Kirk days. He was talking on a thing. And we do so much things now with technology where we can always remember seeing it. I remember when I had the iPhone in the Matrix and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that occurrence is occurring. That occurrence of kind of like art reflecting reality or reality taking shape in the same way that art does.
Yeah.
That's taking place in a larger scale when it comes to the World Wide Web and the internet, which might lead to a Skynet one day, or might lead to a Matrix machines, batteries, humans, blah, blah, blah. God forbid it doesn't.
Yeah.
But right now, when we're not asking the questions that we need to in order to actually prevent. Sometimes we're just, how do I do things rather than why?
Why, or should we?
Should we?
Yeah. Like automation of workers. Like, have you seen some of these crazy warehouses, man? Like the mad Amazon warehouses and packing warehouses where it's just tracks and robots, these little like basically storage units just flying around and things getting dropped in them.
Wow.
And it'll blow your mind, and you just go like, I get it. That's so efficient.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And all we've got to pay is some people to program and to fix them when they go wrong.
Yeah.
It's a minimal outside the initial outlay. It's a minimal cost. I get it.
Yeah.
But the human cost is low paid labour disappears.
Yeah.
So then you've got massive problems.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Societal, actual real world, pull the plug and they're their problems.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like you say, why it's advancing and why it's easier. And we all do. We all love things that just work, don't we?
100%.
Give me a thing that just works.
Yeah.
But we don't often think about what is the impact of that.
Yeah.
We
think about what it can do rather than why we should get it to do what we want it to do.
Yeah, so it's a weird control thing. I guess maybe sci-fi has made us scared of apps and scared of the Black Mirror, the bees taking over, the little donkey thing running around with a blade. Yeah. It's like so unstoppable and strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know, man.
Because here the thing is, the truth be told, we don't trust each other. We don't trust humans.
Yeah.
And so all technology is a more powerful version of humans because humans were the one that created it.
Yeah.
So if humanity didn't have a problem with immorality or didn't have a problem with ethics, we wouldn't, I don't think, question technology. But because, man makes machine in his image and the image of man's quite horrid.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of seen with algorithms to some degree. I mean, some algorithms I love. I've landed on some really good YouTube videos off the back of being directed
Yeah.
down a rabbit hole by
Yeah.
an algorithm. So thumbs up to those. But occasionally, and this is what Tristan Harris speaks about, the ethicist from Google, who created his platform, which I'll tell you about in a minute, called Center of Humane Technology. The algorithms now take you down a rabbit hole that literally will lead towards outrage.
Yeah.
Outrage is at the almost like the lowest spectrum of our human
Yeah.
kind of
Our
like
drives.
and it's probably the most commercially viable.
Of course.
Because if you can get someone to be outraged at something,
Yeah,
they'll
you got
buy a
'em.
product,
Yeah.
they'll buy a service,
They'll watch the next video. They'll tell everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so almost if algorithms moved us towards a more ethical outcome, such as love, such as harmony, such as peace, if it sent, everyone who had a red flag, a blue video, and everyone who had a blue flag, a red video, why don't you think about a different opinion rather than just send the reds down the red rabbit trail and the blues down the blue rabbit trail.
Yeah.
With algorithms don't do that. They
it's weird though, because
they just want to polarize us.
I mean, I'm probably out on a limb here, but like it feels like there's still as much of a human hand on the tiller, on the steering at the moment, that things can be corrected. But the problem is, the further we go down the line, the more that hand's gone automated, AI, just algorithm, and then you get into a stranger place, don't you?
Yeah.
Where there's there's the obvious thing of like, everything's a menu on a phone. You press a button and speak to a robot. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you phone stuff, if this is right, say yes after the tone, and you're there going, you say, yeah, I didn't get that. And you're just like, it's just, from that sort of thing to like, literally like, a totally non-communicative system turning off your power because a bill didn't get paid. Yeah. Or because some technology over here crashed that meant that transaction wasn't gone. And suddenly you got no water, you got no electricity.
Yeah.
Or in the future, you got no car. Your car just stops.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's just the way it goes. Suddenly, when you've got when the humans extract themselves from it, because the systems are so complicated and so good, and I wonder how many of them are already just like that, and we don't even think about it. But that's the worrying thing for me, when the humanity's removed from it, and we're left with just the tech alone. It feels like that's the handover now. Do you know what I mean? I remember Elon, I don't know where he is now, but Elon a while ago, might have been on a Rogan podcast years ago, where he talked about he was pulling out of AI stuff or not developing AI stuff at the time because he was too worried about it. Really? Yeah, because of some of the ethical questions that was thrown up. It was like people involved in it. He's like, you don't want these people doing this.
Wow.
It's worrying, man.
Yeah. I always get worried when those who know more than us, because they're exposed to a lot more than us, get worried.
Yeah. Or say, don't do that. Don't do that.
Because you take them at their word, man. But it's interesting because I think that films have always been a metaphor for the human story, right? Where we're going. They're not all prophetic, but they at least let us know where we as a human species feel like things are going. And the majority of sci-fis have had that kind of. They haven't had. I'd love to kind of like find out, has there been more utopia kind of films, or more dystopian?
Yeah,
I think it's more dystopian.
More dystopian, yes, because they're fun.
Dark
they're
technology.
Fun. Yeah,
they're fun, but they're also a little bit more. We kind of appreciate that.
Plus, you don't want to watch a film like, hey, everything's better.
Yeah, which is Star.
Everything's
Star
great.
Trek,
but come on, man.
So Star Trek is a utopia.
Look, just for.
But at the same time, they need to add the drama of meeting aliens.
Do you know sometimes you think you know someone, right? You think you know them. You walk with them for a while. You help them through. You help them through life decisions. They help you through life decisions. You get to know and love them, and then one day they post a picture. And they're a Trekkie. And when the day I found out that Shabazz L Graham was a sold up, bought in, down dirty, got his own kit Trekkie was a shocking day.
No, I need to defend myself here.
Okay.
I love my wife, more than I love you. And my wife
You're
is
going
a
to throw
Trekkie.
this on Candy. Candy, listen to this. He's throwing you under the bus here. Tell the truth.
I love her. I love my wife anyway, but I fell in love with her even more when I realized she was a Trekkie. Just because she was a nerd like me.
I would not put Candy in the Trekkie camp.
I neither did.
It's so weird, but it's cool. Like, whatever you got to do.
She is just so
you took one for the team.
Not even too.
You put your little receiver thing on your t-shirt. Beam me up, Scotty.
In the video version of this, you got to show photos so people get the context. But I love Trek. I love Star Trek. I mean, especially the way that Star Wars is going, man.
Let's not talk about Star Wars, man. It's a bad time.
Yeah,
there's technology gone wrong, man. All that money, all that universe, and they are messing it up badly, man.
They've got too much options, man.
Let me ask you a little bit. So, if you was in charge, I know this doesn't happen nowadays, but if you were king of tech, so let's say you had money and power and influence and the wherewithal, which way would you want to steer tech? What if you could omit certain things? And I know we did this before when we spoke about race. We talked about what words would you want to omit and what words might you want to add into that conversation. As you look at tech, what are some of the things you'd want to go, let's not do any more of this, let's go this way?
Good question, really good question. In truth, and I think you've already touched on it already, the word is human. We need to do our best to get as much more humanity, the ethical aspect of humanity, back into technology. There's an aspect of technology where it feels as though humans have said, let's get technology to do as much of the heavy lifting as possible. And in the consequence of that has been technology has literally taken over, and the human aspect of technology has begun to be eroded and pushed out. And I would say we need to reverse that by getting as much of humanity back into technology as possible. And by humanity, I'm speaking about the ethical side of humanity, not necessarily the nefarious or the negative side. So in essence, I think let's get tech that's a lot more ethical, that serves a human purpose that benefits us, rather than serving a human purpose that polarizes us, that turns us into product. They say if you don't buy a product online, you are the product. If you don't buy a service, the service is turning you into a commodity rather than you actually having a commodity, which is why a lot of social media is free. You don't pay for social media because you are the actual...
that attention you're getting.
The attention that you're giving them is the actual commercial value. So you are the product rather than you buying a product. And so that's long and short what I think I would try to do. How can we find a human value in this aspect of technology? Thankfully, we have an amazing senior advisor in my business, in my platform, called Tim Kobe, who is an absolute amazing, first of all, he's an absolutely amazing guy, phenomenal mind, very insightful. He's the gentleman who worked with Steve Jobs for 12 years and worked to basically create the Apple Store. And his power or his focus is human experience. He's all about finding out how can we place humans at the center of this experience, which is why the Apple Store isn't just this kind of like place where you walk in and there's tech everywhere and it's basically wires and stuff. No, they thought about the human element of a shopper coming to buy a bit of tech. Things are spaced out so that there's a little bit more breathing space. There's plants, there's high ceilings, there's tables, things that we're used to sitting around the table and having a conversation with a friend. Those are human elements placed in the retail program that made the Apple Store, the amazing success that it is. And I love that. And I love him for doing that. And I'm taking from him as much as I can in the form of me being mentored by him to say, how can we do that for technology? How can we ensure that we place a human element back into technology so that we don't hand down to our children, we don't hand them a legacy of being even more technology kind of like bombarded and overwhelmed, than we can currently see that, is becoming. I mean, my kid's 3, and I'm trying to not have him become a telly addict. Because he knows Netflix and he can easily choose any cartoon he wants.
Good luck with that one, bro. Good Lord. I don't see.
It terrifies me sometimes. I walk in and I see that kind of like
glazed
look. Yeah, you've seen it, yeah, dude.
Yeah, I see it in them. I see it in me. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not gonna because I think tech is. I think tech is like anything. Like I think, obviously, there's stuff that can be designed about what it extracts from you or what it requires from you. You can decide that sort of stuff. The functions of an app, right? Yeah. That can be decided. So ethically, you could decide, okay, let's start moving to technology that isn't always harvesting certain kinds of data, right?
Yeah.
We can move to that. But as far as content, who and how people consume it, just like anything else that people do, they bring themselves to it.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? So as long as the content of, to crib, MLK, it's like the content of our heart. As long as that's crooked, we just gonna bring that crookedness to technology. Do you know what I mean? So we got a camera, so you can film a beautiful memory with your family or a lovely vista, or it's World Star, right? Someone getting a head stamped on a tram and we're all laughing. Do you know what I mean? It's content. So it's hard, isn't it? I think there are some ways, like you say, there's some ways you can decide arbitrarily or with intention, like this is what my app will do and will not do. But outside of that, the function of it is people are going to fill it with themselves. Do you know what I mean? And as long as people have got some funky stuff going on, or some confusion, they're going to bring that to whatever platform, right? Do you know what I mean? Like TikTok. Let's not even start about TikTok, but TikTok seems to me just like a very confused place. It seems like people are, if you want to see where people have placed their confusion and filmed it, TikTok is, for me, like number one. If technology all died tomorrow, but it could still be looked at like and 1,000 years from now, another race came, looked at Earth, and they found the TikTok files.
It'd be confusing.
They'd just be like, "What were these people doing?
Really?
Like, what is going?" You ever delved into that stuff?
Not really. I haven't actually.
It's weird, man. It's just. There's some mad stuff on there.
Here's the thing, though. It's really, you still though create the environment. That's, I think, the least that we can expect of, tech platforms, that you set the tone of the environment and you do the best you can to, yes, I don't want to say police that environment, but to mitigate the risks to people that you're welcoming into that environment. Yes, there's funky things going on with anyone, but I think it's really a time that we worked as a human race, without sounding too kind of like idealistic, to actually begin to recognize what's coming down the road if we don't put some of these safeguards in place and really help shape the environment more. That's the least that we can do. And yes, you're right, majority of people just want the money and just want the actual attention and aren't really worried so much about the consequences. But if things can be done to actually prevent those kind of ledger of harms, because there's a huge ledger that's building up of different types of harms, including like an increase in suicide and just
self-harm amongst girls. It's bad, man.
People getting plastic surgery to match their Instagram filter. And so how do we push to do that? I mean, that's why I'm really in support of an organization that I mentioned earlier briefly called the Center for Humane Technology. This was launched by Tristan Harris, the ethicist I mentioned. Something that they basically used to have an organization called Time Well Spent. Basically, they named that phrase after something that Mark Zuckerberg said when he stood before the Senate. And he basically said that he wanted Facebook to be a place where, people will have time well spent. And Tristan Harris took that line and said, let's create an organization around that, based around bringing ethics back into technology. and so people can actually have time well spent when they are online, because that is amazing when you are online and you actually get educated by a really good YouTube video, or you get that post that's every now and then I'd go to my friend Phil's Facebook or social media posts just to like remember my friend. Social media platforms have become the new gravestones for people, especially digital natives.
You saying this. This is crazy. That Facebook place, that they have become memorials, gravestones, digital graveyards where you go to visit your past time with people that aren't around anymore. It never even occurred to me, but
it becomes to some degree that's way of like the internet gives you back and serves you in a positive way, because to a grieving teenager who has just lost a parent or a friend, going to a place where you used to communicate with them and speaking to them, because this is what they've actually found, this is very true in digital natives, they found that isn't memorials social media platforms or pages aren't just visited by friends, but they communicate with their lost friend as though they were still alive.
Like message them.
They speak to them. Absolutely.
Wow, I noticed, man.
Absolutely. And a lot of comfort has been given, for example, to like grieving parents of children that have been lost when they see how their friends communicate to them. And so it's almost like these things are, you can't do that at a gravestone. If I come to a gravestone an hour after someone else, I don't hear the words that they said over the grave. So I say that to say there's positive things as to how the internet can be used and stuff, and so there are great things, and for me that's ethics. There's ethical ways by which, especially when, so for example, there was a lot of social media platforms are faced with a dilemma, because you can easily cull a lot of the
dead accounts. Yeah, and I think I heard this.
There was, I can't remember what platform it was, and maybe I don't want to say their name just in case I get it wrong, but one social media platform, I think, just culled about 50 accounts of people that they believed were dead. Wow. And they had an absolute kind of like bombard of relatives saying, get those accounts back up.
Yeah.
We need them back up. And they restored them because they recognized that, wow, this is a real thing. There's a serious day that's coming where there's going to be more accounts of people that are dead online than people that are alive. Dude. Because obviously...
that was my question about your bandwidth. Because it's a very small page, a little bit of some text, of some videos, stuff, but you add that up.
Yeah.
Millions upon millions upon millions, 15 years from now, if that app's still running, you've got a platform that has to service the content
and the dead
of I know, that's crazy.
But here the thing is, and I think, and this is what I hope social media platforms are going to really genuinely do, they're going to need ethics for this, because you can, and some of them I think have been nefarious and done this wrong, you can monetize a dead account so as to advertise, for example, to the visitors of that dead account, and really turn it into a commodity, and because you have also, and this is a new area of ethics that is going to be quite difficult to maneuver around. You, for example, have parents. There's parents of kids who have been murdered. There's one, I forgot the person's name, but there's one example of a girl who was murdered by her boyfriend, and a parent wanted a Facebook account, I believe, taken down because what was on that girl's page, pictures of her and that boyfriend.
Yeah.
The girl obviously would not know that he would go on to murder her.
Yeah.
But the parents have had to live with seeing that man with the daughter, and they obviously want it taken down. So they have, and I think they were refused, because some accounts prevent a parent from stepping in and taking care of. Wow. And so I kind of realized that there needs to be a new way of operating in this this world where we are writing what I call the digital autobiography of our lives. Everything we put online is a part of our digital autobiography. You know, we no longer just have those journals that we write in now.
Yeah.
Everything, whether it's Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everything we say online is a part of that digital autobiography.
Yeah.
Are we doing enough? And these are some of the questions I began to ask myself when I lost my friend back in 2014, Phil Taylor. Are we doing enough to prepare for our absence? In the present, are we doing enough to prepare for our absence?
Yeah.
So as to ensure that we leave our digital autobiography, the parts of it that we control anyway, to an executor or to our kids if we want to ensure that they get our media.
Yeah.
Because everything we post online, right, should belong to us. But we don't realize we've signed that terms and condition because we want to watch that YouTube video.
Yeah.
We don't realize we've given away our entire
content,
library or catalogue.
Yeah.
So that leads questions.
Yeah, dude, that is. And it is an interesting thing because, you know, years ago when someone invented the tin opener or the V8 engine, it was a technology that there was no ethics involved.
Yeah.
Outside of like what materials did you use and how much did you pay someone to build it?
Yeah.
But the thing itself, you know, you grab whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like you grab an ashtray. You're like, it's an ashtray. Like here it is, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing that needs to be. There's no ethics here.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a thing.
Yeah.
But with technology, and particularly where we are now with like not that technology is a great thing, but internet based data, it is controllable in a different way, and people can still access it and shape it and use it. So it lives. It has a character beyond just being a thing, because it's not really a thing. It's content.
Yeah.
So it is. I'd never really thought about it, but it is. It does bring in questions of ethics, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's not that they're not just objective things.
Yeah.
It's you, or it's you and your interactions with the world as you met it, your friends, family, workplaces, countries, political parties, religions, whatever. So there is that. You're right. It's like that. These are big questions. What you do ethically with things.
Yeah.
How can someone use your image when you're alive or dead?
Yeah.
At what point should someone limit your access to things, and based on what?
Yeah.
Because you know that cancel culture and all this stuff at the moment, these last 5 years, 6 years. Do you know what I mean?
Can
you know, it's been right. It's been. We remove your access.
Yeah.
Because ethically we don't like you.
Yeah.
And that's been it, isn't it? That's been it's very derived from either the celebrity zone or the political ethics. I mean, we don't like what you stand for. You're a racist, or you're this, or you're a Democrat, Republican, or Conservative, or Labour, or whatever. Yeah. You know, so you're right. The policing of that, if that's I don't know if policing is the right word, but you know, the guarding of that is a massive issue.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
because the internet is really not what it purports to be, which is free to anyone. Anyone can do whatever they want. That's not true, and that's why I come back to like we seem to have built up these behemoth, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagram. That's Facebook as well. You know, these people that have faces, and it's like, what have Facebook decided about what I can post?
Yeah.
You know, what can I post on? You know, I don't know if you heard like with this thing with the. You heard about this GoFundMe thing with the truckers?
No.
So in Canada, you know, the truckers are protesting against the mandatory vaccination, right? Yeah. So 8% of them are vaccinated, but they're protesting that they are saying you have to be vaccinated to work. That it's the mandate that they're upset about, right?
Yeah.
So they put a GoFundMe up to fund their movements, right? Got millions of dollars in, right?
Yeah.
GoFundMe says, yeah, about that. We're not giving it to you.
What?
We're not giving it to you.
Why?
Reasons. So they were like, what? Like, yeah, we're not going to pass that on to the truckers. Like hundreds of thousands of people in Canada, and I guess anywhere around the world, gave to that movement, right? you know, which is, you know, however many thousands of people. And whether you agree with it or not, it doesn't matter. They used a platform where GoFundMe, where you say, I want to do this, and someone says, I'll give you some money for that. And that they're an intermediary where they just go, oh, thanks for that. I will safely deliver that from your hand to there. But they stepped in ethically and said, nah, bruv, not doing it, right? So at which point, I think they're beginning to do it now, because everyone went online and they said that they would demand a credit default notice. So basically, they would lumber them with charges for withholding their money. So at that point, they've started to relinquish it, but very slowly and very sketchily. Yeah, that's an ethical, technological dilemma. Yeah, that's an app that started out and said, "This is what we do. Use us." So, and then someone used it, and then it went, "But we don't like you." Yeah, or we don't like. So you're right that going forward, there are these moments. You know, for some people, depending ethically where they land, they go, damn right, don't give them bastards a thing. Yeah. Other people go, hold on. Yeah. I wanted to give them money and I use you. Just give them the money. Yeah. So it's
a conundrum.
Yeah, it is.
It's not a black and white issue. Yeah. Even me saying ethics. Yeah. Like you said earlier. Yeah. Whose ethics?
Yeah, whose ethics?
Because one man's hero is another man's villain.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I don't know the question to that. I guess. Yeah. But in a weird roundabout way though, Rick, if I'm to be honest with you, I'm happier with that approach because that's humanity. We are complicated people. Yeah. Two men in a room without any technology are going to have a debate or an argument. And that's still a human thing. I'd rather that than this robotic kind of everyone agreeing because they're robots. We just need to find ways of ethically disagreeing to, you know, I say like this. I always try to be, you know, I try to disagree in an agreeable fashion. And that would be my way of ethically choosing to have my human right of protesting against something I disagree with. And I think that should almost be like the red line. That should almost be the benchmark that, okay, if you decide, you know, I will fight for your right to disagree with me 100%, no matter how much you hate me or want to actually disagree with me or what. Yeah. I'll fight for your right because that's a quote unquote democratic human right? But the minute that you choose to actually subvert my freedoms with your freedoms, you know, and move towards wanting to destroy me almost, I have to stop you in a ethical way. Yeah.
But these are so tricky.
That's human nature. Yeah. And you take that human nature and put it onto the internet and add technology to it. Yeah. It's going to become tricky.
Oh, it's
I don't have answers for all of these. We have more questions, but I love at least the ability to have a conversation about it.
At least it's being engaged with, I guess, at some point, to some degree. But it's just, you know, is a narrative of evil big tech grown enough that people will that conversation be allowed, or will people demand the tin opener approach? Like, you say you do this, you do it every time in the same way for everyone. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Which is difficult because when you're trying to do stuff ethically, I don't think anyone would say, look, GoFundMe. Someone should say, look, I'm thinking of bombing a church. Yeah. Can you I need some Semtex. Can you just, we would all morally disagree. But then there are some other things where we would disagree with and other people go, well, why can't we do that? Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah. Who genuinely looks towards giving us ethics? I mean, obviously faith-based individuals, those who have faith, are controlled by the ethics. Not controlled, but they go to their faith for ethics. Yeah. But the average human Joe Bloggs just, I guess, devises their ethics off the back of their experience, their own personal choices.
Or their own personal reward system.
Their own,
you know. So this lands well for me. I like this one. I go. That's what most of us do, right? We do go. True. Oh, that works out fine for me, so I'll do that. You know, if I structure my life this way, I pay this amount of tax. If I, you know, you people wiggle. Yeah. Let me ask you directly, man. Before we close out, man. Let me ask you. So, you were talking a little bit about when we're talking about those digital graveyards now online and memorials, and my first kind of interaction with you, like outside of like when you kind of transition, you were transitioning from being an editor, to like I've got this idea for an app. Originally, it was something firmly in that zone of how do we, as you said, how do you plan in this life to speak when you're no longer around? So talk a little bit about that app, and I don't know what degree you want to talk about. I know all these things are in development for you, so you want to sort of tread lightly, but talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I came up with I've had 28 years experience in the film and TV industry, and most of my time in the industry has been based around recording people, recording events for posterity or for broadcast. And I've always then had, I think, just this natural respect for, I wish there was a word called legacizing. I don't think there is a word, but I have this desire to create legacy. And I hold a tape back in the day as a digital immigrant, and I would have on it the actual, recording of someone who's deceased or passed away. And that tape becomes more priceless to me when they are gone. I one time recorded a wedding, and throughout the whole wedding, the bridesmaid, this beautiful 25-year-old, she could have been like a supermodel. She was the sister of the bride, and she was coughing throughout the wedding. And at the time, I didn't know that she was suffering from cancer. And I was in the same church that I was filming that wedding 6 months after the event, filming her funeral, because she died of cancer not too long after the wedding. Everything I shot of that precious woman on that day just became much more priceless. And I remember being in tears for 3 weeks editing that wedding video. And there was a power that, and a real sense of, I can't explain it, Rick. It was more like just, there was a real sense of just honor I had editing this wedding video for her husband and for the bride and the bridegroom, who obviously lost their sister and sister-in-law. And I was creating something that they would put on the mantelpiece, not put on the mantelpiece of their family. It would become an heirloom that would go down to their children and basically become something that became, this is your auntie, and I was editing that. And I was, at the time I was working, Channel 4, MTV, big productions and stuff. Working on that wedding video was more priceless to me than working on some of the big name corporate jobs that I was working on, because of the meaning behind it. And I say all that to say, when I actually had death impact me, I think in the space of, a couple of years, I lost my mother, I lost my sister, and I lost my best friend, Phil. And I think when I lost Phil, it was like, no, we've got to do something. We've got to etch in stone this feeling I have of wanting to memorialize people through film in a way that means something. So I created an app. I created an idea for a platform. I called it Silo. And it basically is a way by which you can pass down your legacy, pass down your memories to your loved ones through the power of video. And so I won't go into too much detail because there's just so much moving parts to it. But it kind of is my own version of all that we've spoken about. It's a distillation of the meaning behind all of the things, whether it's ethics, morality, whether it's the power of technology, whether it's the legacy, the fact that our digital autobiography will outlive us. Everything we're doing online, these hard drives will be alive when we are dead. And I basically, have just dedicated the rest of my life to wanting to, give more meaning to what we do online and what we do with technology in order to actually create more legacy for us. And Silo also then birthed in me a completely new revolutionary feature. I created a feature within Silo, which I've now launched into a separate app, a standalone app, which I'm actually focusing my attention on. And that app is called Qcast. And Qcast basically simply means question cast. And the power of everything I did as a filmmaker was centered around questions. I would sit down sometimes, and I would, on my average documentary that I would cut, I would think about the fact that a documentary might be 40 minutes. I've got 30 interviews to cut into that 40 minutes to make up the interviews. And those interviews won't take up the whole 40 minutes. They'll probably take up 20 minutes. The other 20 minutes might be archive.
Yeah.
If I've got 30 interviews, and sometimes people are interviewed for an hour and a half, I as an editor will have to go through all of those interviews to find the 3 questions that make it to the edit, and the rest end up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
So I was hearing hundreds of questions and answers, because that's what an interview is. This conversation is questions and answers. And I began to realize how powerful the world is shaped around the dynamic of dialogue based around Q&A.
Yeah.
You know, we sit down and we listen to a podcast for 3 hours because the podcaster is asking great questions to the interviewee. And so I just had a new respect for how much questions had played its hand in my career, in my life, in the things we love about the world. We as kids, I think they say like an average kid can ask 400 questions a day. Yeah. Some of them. Yeah. Probably me. Yeah. And every area of life, whether you're a digital native, digital immigrant, whether you're millennial or Gen Z, Gen X, whoever you are, questions play a huge part in making you who and what you are. Yeah. One of my heroes, Albert Einstein, once is believed to have purported to have said that if he had an hour to solve a problem, he would spend 55 minutes ensuring that he was asking himself the right question in order to solve the problem. Yeah. And I think that's a part of the solution I saw that is needed in the world. You know, I'm into social advocacy. I'm into asking difficult questions. I realized that asking better questions is what's going to actually solve some of the problems. Hal Gregerson says in his book, behind every breakthrough, there is a better question. And I just realized that that's what true, I can do with my life. That's good. Yeah. If you really look into it, every great bit of tech, we're talking about technology, every great, solution that tech has, solved came from an engineer or came from an inventor who asked a better question.
Yeah, can we do this better? Can we do this? Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, like the, in like the rabbinic tradition of Jewish rabbis and disciples, how every good Jewish kid that would go up through that system of teaching, they would all, just to get in the gate, you got to memorize the Torah. You got to have every jot and tittle. Your rabbi's got to be able to throw a verse. You got to be able to say what's before, what's after, what's 10, whatever. Yeah. Sure. But if there, I'm not sure it works how it is, but if there's a final in that thing, it's the point at which the rabbi hears the disciples or his disciple ask the right questions. So the test is not, do you know Torah? Everyone knows the fucking Torah. Like, everyone knows it, bro. Standard. It's do you have enough understanding about what you've read to ask a deeper question of it? Brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So this is your ballpark, right? This thing of questions and because it is how you learn. The moment you stop asking questions, you kind of settle, I'm done, and you stagnate, don't you? You stagnate. You've always got to be asking some questions. Do you know what I mean?
And if you sometimes, and it's interesting listening to how people phrase questions. Yeah. Because sometimes a real ugly question that we kind of realize doesn't sit well with us isn't really a question. Yeah. Sometimes it's a statement
or an accusation, or
it's an accusation.
And questions are relational. Yeah. That's the funny thing. Like, so we're married, not we. Like, you're married, I'm married, right? And our marriages had their origin in questions.
100%.
Do you want to get some? Do you want to get some dinner? You want to get some sugar? You want to? But it's true, right? Yeah. My wife if you just went up and told her the truth, you said, "Look, I'm Shabazz. I'm the shit." Like, come on. You know what I mean? But like,
questions.
statements are kind of like, they're abrupt, and they're useful for like hard analytical facts and stuff. But yeah, questions are relational. They lead to things.
If I ask you a question, I care for you.
Yeah. It's interaction, right? Yeah. If I tell you a truth, it's different. Like, oh, thanks. Yeah. But if I ask a question, then you're back, and then you're linked somehow, and
it's like it's like throwing your hand out for a handshake, you know, because you're saying, I want to invite you into a conversation. Can we have dialogue here? Yeah. I don't want to throw words at you. I want to have a conversation with you. Yeah. I always say, if you give someone information, it can go in one ear and obviously come out the other. Yeah. You give someone insight or information in the form of a question, it goes in one ear and explodes in the mind as people are engaged in wanting to create, you know, there's actually a psychological term called instinctive elaboration, which is where you instinctively want to elaborate on the actual question you've been posed. And you could hate the person who's posed the question, but the question exists nonetheless. Yeah. That's why I love films that delve into deep questions. I remember literally the whole marketing campaign for The Matrix was a question. Yeah. What is The Matrix? Yeah. First time my friend came back from watching The Matrix, and I was like, I could have heard myself say it, but I didn't stop myself. Yeah. So what is The Matrix? You get pulled into the ideas that are framed around questions because you want to instinctively hear elaboration on it. You know?
And I once, like, Erwin McManus,
dude,
his money. And he talks about people on meaning machines. Yeah. That we constantly, our strive is to understand and find meaning in things. Nice. You know, that you look at the animal kingdom, it's like, well, we just eat and we just make love. Well, not make love. Horses, you know, they procreate, they eat, they do whatever they do, they hibernate. But humans, it's like, it's all the wires come in, and we're meaning machines. We're looking to attach meaning to everything. Yeah. What does this mean? What does this mean for you? What does this mean for me? What does this? What kind of person does this make me? And so, one of the things, just going back before we talk about a bit more about going back to Silo, the things I love about Silo is like our friend Mark, Mark 2. I remember him saying, like, because he deals with lots of stuff and probate and stuff like that, and I remember him kicking the stat that 70% of people die without a will. Oh my gosh. So 70% of people, and I don't know if that's a UK stat or a worldwide stat or a Europe stat, whatever, but 70% of people die without determining where their possessions go and where their property goes, right? And remember we all going, oh, wow, that's deep. I remember you saying we should have a will night where let's all sort our wills out and stuff. But the thing I like about the idea behind Silo is it's about right now, long before your death, not deciding who gets my watch or who owns the house or gets the war medals or whatever it is. It's about, what do I want to tell you of myself?
100%
now. Wow. So it's not things, it's me. Yeah. What, like, if I could, you know, it's making it so at the point you're, like you say, at the point you're no longer physically there, there's a digital library of you talking to your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, the world, whoever, whatever, saying, this is what I've learned in my life. These are the questions that drove me, and that's what I loved. And I think when I was like, oh wow, that when you talk about ethics, and then I hear you talk about Silo, I'm like, oh, that fits, and that's such an amazing thing. And it wasn't attainable 10 years ago. Yeah. That app, whatever, niche. But now we're all so used to documenting things. Yeah. But, you know, unfortunately for some people, if they died tomorrow and they've got kids, their kids would have an elaborate library of pictures of their food, a photo of them and their wife or whatever at a concert or a vista. There wouldn't necessarily be any moral content, any emotional content, anything that says this is who I was and this is who you are. Yeah. And that's part of what I love about what you're trying to do with Silo.
I mean, more than Silo with Qcast, you know, how much questions do you take to the grave? Yeah. You know, because I think the first thing that hit me when my friend died was I knew so many of the questions that he was planning to engage the world with.
Yeah.
He never have an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and what questions, if you as a dad, you know, thought about the type of questions that your children will ask you across the course of their life, milestone moments that you've experienced and your wife's experience and everyone experienced, that we know come 18 there's going to be questions, come 21 there's going to be questions, come the night before we get married there's going to be questions, come
parenthood
to actually have a child,
so
there's key moments that we can, you know, we don't need to be a genius to know my child's going to be wanting to get curious about these things in that specific time. Prepare for those questions, and if you can't guarantee that you'll be around to actually prepare for those questions, you know, do something in all of this vlogging and blogging that you're doing that prevents you having this backlog of crap and nonsense that is just shots of food, you know, shots of you playing on, you know, one of this social media platform that gives you like animal faces and stuff. That stuff's gonna still comfort them in your absence. But wouldn't it be amazing if we went into another area? There's a space called deep tech. And that's the space that we want Qcast to
what's
to
deep
exist
tech?
in. Deep tech, and there's a lot of different terms for it, or probably explanations, but the aspect is that it's deeper than just this superficial sense of offering you
goods and services,
tons of pictures. Like it's directing you in being a little bit more thought-provoking. So with Qcast, with our aspect of deep tech, it's going to be Qcast as a platform that will enable you to ask questions of each other that you can share in order for people to engage with responding with answers. And that's going to be deep tech for us because it's helping you think more. You know, the only thing better than a good answer is a good question. You know, because a good question will lead you to that answer. And so that's a level of depth that we feel is important. And so our aspect of deep tech will be offering the world an opportunity to actually engage in asking better questions. Through Qcast, the question cast,
and I know like there's so many more applications for Qcast. It gets deep, doesn't it? Once you get into it, and I know you probably don't want to go super crazy in detail, but it's good. It's exciting, man.
It's exciting, and we're looking forward to bringing it to the world. It's probably this is I think the first podcast that we're actually announcing it on, and
it's good.
I look forward to hearing. I know that you've we've created a Qcast.
Doing a few, and we'll talk a bit more about. I think part of once the app is up and running, and I know you're working on it, and like all these things, you don't want to you don't want to release it prematurely. You want to make sure that you got as much of the niggles out and got it looking exactly how you want. But once you do it, we're certainly as a podcast will integrate Qcast into each of these guest podcasts and other times, just as a way of kind of a tool of, for me, helping this be more interactive. So it's not just me going, here's the guest and we're having a conversation, or here's me talking to a camera and like, here's what I'm thinking about whatever that week is pissed me off or I'm excited about, but actually like a way of people engaging with it. I think it's really good. Do you know what I mean? And I think it is like an interaction with people that you don't normally maybe have the chance to interact with is a weird thing. It's a trippy thing that's quite cool. It's quite crazy. So this is not really a same story, but so like in this fitness thing I'm doing on the YouTube channel, right? Nice. So we're doing this fitness, and I said at the beginning, I was like, we need a hero, we need a maven to help us, right? And I jokingly said we could use The Rock, but nah, we could use like Chris Hemsworth, nah, we could use Hugh Jackman, but I ended up choosing this guy, Greg Wallace, right? Nice. Who's a guy, big fat guy, used to be a big fat guy on MasterChef. Anyway, blah, blah, blah.
I like Wallace.
Yeah, Wallace is great, right?
Cool,
but anyway, so the other day, I'm doing my thing and I've made a joke out of it now. And I don't know if people have noticed, but every 1046 video, I hide a small image of his face somewhere in the video. Like, where's Wally? But it's where's Wallace? Nice. So you've got to try and find him. There might be just a frame or two of his face somewhere. Anyway, so I jumped on a live feed the other day that he was on. You know, he was on Instagram just doing like a live chat thing,
Yeah.
and it was cool because I just threw a little question on there like whatever. Do you know what I mean? And then he
answered.
He looked at it, and went, "Oh yeah, the Flat Earth podcast, brilliant. How was the weigh-in?"
Nice.
Like that, and it was weird because instantly in my house I was like, I'm chatting with Greg, man, my man Greg, and it's just a small like totally you know, not authentic in the sense of not like we weren't there chatting, but something like Qcast, the way you're designing it, and what I think will excite people. It is the way that they will be able to connect with people and ask questions of people and
100%.
receive answers from people that they never normally would be able to.
100%.
And that's kind of like, that's the banging part of it, man.
100%. But what happened there is you're used to seeing Greg as a kind of like silent third party member, watching him having a conversation with someone else. But the minute he turns and looks at you and has a conversation with you, it becomes a completely different experience.
You're engaged.
That's what we want to actually throw into the whole kind of like, that's our solution to some of these problems, because let's have conversations. You know, nothing better than a better conversation. Other than a better conversation. And you know, it's funny, my wife recently, she hate me for saying this, but she's quite a famous kind of Bond actor, has followed her on Instagram.
Sweet.
Naomi Harris.
I thought it was me, Daniel Craig, man. I was like, watch out, bro.
No.
Watch out for that guy.
I'll be threatened. But no, and she just loves, hopefully she don't mind me saying it, but she just loves like every now and then like Naomi will say something to her. And it's just this beautiful moment of the world, you know, we call stars because they are so highly lifted up, they're transcendent. So the minute that a star says something to us, we feel special.
It's definitely weird.
And so that's the power of the internet. And I think it, you know, we've gone full circle to that's the beautiful aspect of how technology has made us closer. And can actually make us feel stronger and better. Do you know what I mean? By doing that. So there's opportunity there. But it comes through conversation, man, because he asked you a question. You know, he didn't tell you, you know, hope you're not, you know.
Get on my program. You'll lose some weight.
He didn't throw a statement at you. You threw a question, man, and that made you feel.
I was like, I was so excited. Literally, I was running around. It went great, and I told him how much I lost. But then I don't think it was so many people on the stream. He didn't reply, but I know he's thinking of me even now. So it's all good, man. Well, man, this has been good, man. I think we'll time out there, man. But it's been good. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this, man. This thing of natives and immigrants and ethics in tech, and I hope it's something you can kind of stick in your pipe and smoke for a while and come to some places. Shabazz, is there anything else you want to say? Any place you want to direct people to? Where can people find out more about you? Just your Instagram?
Yeah, if you can, I will direct everyone towards our Qcast page.
Okay.
Which is Qcast.io. That's Q for question, cast as in podcast, but Qcast.io. If you go there, we have a holding page at the moment where you can sign up to our mailing list. So as soon as we launch, we will inform you, which is going to be very soon, the next few months. And you'll be able to engage with what Qcast is and really get to understand it. That's all I'd really say.
Sweet, thank you, brother. And we will, when that day does arrive, you're well before then, but on that day you'll hear a lot more, and it will be 100%. Something that we'll integrate into the podcast. So
nice.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
It's been good times, man.
It's been emotional.
It's been emotional.
It's been emotional.